Hey guys, wanted to go ahead and do an overview of the Audio Technica Pro 61, and to go from there, this microphone you can find for around $59 or so if you check around. And I actually learned about this from the Podcastage Discord. They were talking about it, and I had to check it out. I was kind of interested. Okay, so I want to do a few things here, and this video will be different from any other microphone shootout I've ever done before, and I'm going to do a new format. So let me go ahead and tell you about it. So the first thing we're going to do is every dynamic microphone that I cover, or condenser microphone, will have a no windscreen and windscreen recording in there. That way you can know the differences between how they sound, and I will have both of those in there. So speaking of, let's go ahead and put a windscreen on this microphone right now. All right, so that's the first change. The second change we're going to do is I'm going to leave the windows open. I'm going to leave everything around open so that if there's any ambient noise, you're going to be able to hear that ambient noise in the microphone. So you'll be able to tell which ones are more sensitive than the others. The third thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have it set up so that when I actually talk about the microphone, I'm actually going to talk about it. You know, before I would not do that, and I would read off a script, and I think that's actually a bad idea. Because what would happen is I would read some script saying, you know, like the rich dad, poor dad walked across the street, blah, blah, blah. What happens is your brain, or my brain, or anyone's brain watching the video kind of views them all the same, right? But if the script is totally random and different each time for each microphone, I think you're going to be able to more distinctly tell the differences between each of the microphones, which sounds counterintuitive. Like you would think, how is that possible? If you're hearing, wouldn't it be better to hear the same script on that microphone? But no, I actually think, like, now that I think about it, your brain actually has a more difficulty telling the differences between each of the microphones, and it's better to use just a random script each time. So with each microphone you click on, it will be entirely different. All right, so as mentioned, there's not going to be a script for the XM8500. I'm just going to talk into it. But this is the XM8500, a $20 microphone, and with no windscreen. And this is how the audio sounds. My opinion, one of the better microphones that are out there for the money. But I actually do like it with the windscreen. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the windscreen on it. And this is how it sounds when you have the windscreen on it. Microphone check, testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3. It sounds obviously a little bit different when you put the windscreen on it. It's a matter of preference whether you prefer it or not, but this is how it sounds. Again, this is the XM8500. All right, so this microphone, this is the SEV7 MK edition. So just a few notes about this microphone. So obviously there's no windscreen on it. It does have EMI issues. So when I put it right here, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's a little bit of, so this definitely picks up EMI. This is how it sounds. Mic check, testing 1 2 3. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the windscreen on it. As you can see, or I don't know if you were able to hear that, but there's a lot of handling noise issues with this microphone. But I do actually like the way it sounds. You know, it's kind of like it got a smooth tonality to it. Yeah, I mean, this is how it sounds. Mic check. And also, Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers, so pretty good plosives, I think. Well, I don't know. We'll see, but this is how it sounds. Mic check, testing 1 2 3. Hello, hello. This is the SEV7 MK. All right, so the next microphone here, this is the Shure SM58. Now, I don't understand it, but a lot of people love this microphone. Now, I didn't put any windscreen on it because I never see anybody put a windscreen on it, but it still has quite a bit of plosives like Peter Piper picked. Well, it kind of does nullify it a bit, but this is kind of the sound you're getting, and I'm just going to be honest with you, and I never usually do this in microphone shootouts, but I'm going to start doing little mini reviews as I do it, a little different. I actually don't like this microphone. I find it just sounds a little grainy, a little bit kind of unnatural. It's not smooth. There's nothing smooth about it. You know what I mean? But audio engineers love this microphone. They love it for music. If you love it, you love it. For me, I personally do prefer other microphones instead, but this is this is the Shure SM58. I mean, this is freaking, it's legendary. This is how it sounds. Mic check, testing 1 2 3. All right, so I had to redo this again because audio was clipped, but this is the Earthworks Ethos, and this is how it sounds. To me, this microphone actually sounds quite warmish, and it can sound sometimes lispy on my voice, but I actually do like the way it sounds. It has this is a condenser microphone, not a dynamic microphone. Polarizing opinions on this microphone. This microphone, when I actually sometimes in my videos, when I will play it in the background, people will be like, your audio sounds really muffled. But then some people will be like, what microphone is that? I want it. So I don't know. It's just one of those microphones. But it definitely, to me, sounds more dark, woolly, and can sound lispy depending on the situation. But hey, this is the Earthworks Ethos. All right, so here is the blue Sona. and this is how the microphone sounds. Again, no script. We're just going to kind of go off of it. I actually bought this microphone because I saw this guy on Everyday Carry have this microphone, and I was like, dude, that microphone looks so rad. So this is how it sounds, and yeah, I mean, you'll get a sense of kind of how it sounds compared to other microphones. The settings are actually, I didn't turn on anything, so the presence boost is not on, the bass boost is not on. This is basically on standard mode, and this is how it sounds. Microphone check, testing, 1, 2, 3. Again, the blue Sona. All right, so this is the Fifine AM8, and this is how the microphone sounds. This is actually in XLR mode, not in USB mode, so because it's just too much of a hassle to do both at the same time. And this is how it sounds. This microphone is usually around, you can get it for like $50 to $60, and this is the sort of audio you're going to be getting. Obviously, it's not the best sounding microphone out there, but I always do say for someone who only has $60 to get it, because you don't need an audio interface. There is a USB mode on it. And then later on, if you want to use XLR mode, you do have the option. But this is sort of the sound you're going to be getting. Ooh, I just noticed something. I'm going to check sibilance really quick. Yeah, to me, it can get a little spicy, so watch out about that. But yeah, this is the Fifine AM8. All right, so this microphone is the RE20. This microphone, I actually really, really like this microphone. However, there is one thing that I don't like about it, and it's basically, you never want to hold it like this, by the way, but I'm just doing this just because it's faster for a shootout. But the problem I have with this microphone is it's so large that you need to get another shock mount for it, and it just ends up being really bulky. So at least for me, I find that's kind of a detractor. But sonically, I like the way this sounds, and this sound is legendary. I love the way it sounds. This is the RE20. Microphone check, testing, 1, 2, 3. Alrighty, so here's the Shure SM7B, and this is how it sounds. Microphone check, testing, 1, 2, 3. So I'm on nearly maximum gain on the Motum 2, but I'm up close to the microphone. This is how it sounds. Despite everything, I do actually like the Shure SM7B. I like the sound of it. I think it sounds really smooth. I don't think it sounds bad on me. I like the way it sounds. I just find it, again, it's a little bulky for my tastes. You'll notice that for me, I prefer shotgun microphones, but this is a good sound. It's smooth. The only thing is, just remember a few things. You don't need a cloud lifter. Just make sure, bring the microphone up close. That's what's key. And don't do one of these. Speak to it like this, and you should be good to go. All right, so this is the Fifine K688, and this is how the audio sounds. This is around $60 or so, and you don't need an audio interface. So sometimes I feel like if you're starting out, you need a USB microphone, and just something that's good for like podcasts or like YouTube or gaming or whatever. This is perfectly fine. This will get the job done. You don't need a Shure SM7B, which is like $400, and then you got to buy like $200 for an audio interface, and then maybe it's like a lot of money. This is only like $68 or so. It's not the best sound, but it's certainly a lot better than the average person you're going to be playing video games with, or the average person using shitty sound from like an IEM. You know what I mean? Like, this is better audio than that. So this is how it sounds. Again, this is the Fifine K688. Microphone check, testing, 1, 2, 3. This microphone isn't perfect. There's some odd little tangly sound issues. Not the best with handling. Just take a note of that, but you get what you pay for, right? So, all right, so here is the Rode M2, and this is how the audio sounds. So something different about this microphone, you can't eat this microphone. I mean, you could, but you shouldn't. What I realize is something about it just sounds really overwhelming, so you want to kind of be about a fist away. So if you're about a fist away, then it starts to sound pretty good, but this is how the audio sounds. Microphone check, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is a condenser microphone, not a dynamic. And yeah, like I said, this one, you don't want to eat the microphone on it. You want to be about, I would say about like at least a fist away. You kind of treat it almost like a condenser microphone, right? But it's in this format. Yeah, this is how it sounds. But it's kind of funny because with the Ethos, you could kind of get away with it with the Ethos, but in this one, it can sound really blubbery when you come up really close. You don't want to do this. You want to be more about, like a hand away on this one. And this is how it sounds. Microphone check, testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, so here is the Lewitt MTP 550DM. This microphone is actually pretty bright when I listen to it. It's a dynamic microphone, pretty spicy sounding. This is with no windscreen on, so just checking the sibilance on here. So it's a little spicy for my tastes, but it might work for someone with a deeper voice. I don't know. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put on the windscreen on here. So give me 1 second to do that. So we're back on the Lewitt, and this is how it sounds. Yeah, it definitely sounds much more tolerable with the windscreen on, but it's still a little too bright for my tastes. But I think this might work for someone who has a deeper voice or like a warmer toned voice. All right, so this is the Electronics SEV7, and this is how the audio sounds. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. You can find this for about $99 or so. In my opinion, I think this sounds better than the $99 Shure SM58. And then I also think this is better with plosives compared to the SM57, which I will show you afterwards. But this is how it sounds. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a windscreen on it, which may or may not, you may or may not think it sounds better. It's up to you. All right, so here's how it sounds with the windscreen on. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. To me, it sounds a little bit, the volume is dropped a little bit. It's a little smoother, and it's a little bit tilted warmer as it is, but this is how it sounds. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. Again, this is a $99 microphone, and I think it actually sounds really good for the price, especially at the $99 price point of dynamic microphones. All right, so here is the Electronics SEV2. And this is actually their discount model. This actually is around $56 or so last time I checked. So this actually has some handling issues, but this is how it sounds. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. And now what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and put on the windscreen on it. All right, so now we're back on the SEV2, and this is how it sounds with the windscreen on it. In my opinion, this actually is a pretty smooth-sounding microphone when I actually listen to it on my headphones, but I can't tell until I later look at it again, but I think it does sound pretty dang good, and this is a hell of a deal at $56, but the only issue is that just basically the handling issues are kind of bad, but I don't know, maybe if you like just, put it on a stand or something, it shouldn't be too bad. But this sounds pretty good. I think it sounds great. All right, so this is the Shure SM57. This is a legend in the microphones industry, especially when it comes to instruments and things like that. I actually don't like this microphone. Actually, I think it's alright. But what I hate about this is the plosives. Watch, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickle. I mean, this is terrible with plosives. I think you need very, very good microphone technique for it. They do have this particular windscreen for it. Go ahead and put that on. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. It's okay. It's still not up to par, but this is how it sounds. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. This is the Shure SM57. All right, so here is audio from the Samson Q2U. This is a old microphone. I mean, this is a microphone that people have been using in recommending even 7 years ago. But this is something, it's solid for a reason. It's cheap, around $60 or so. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on the windscreen on it. All right, so this is how it sounds. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. I mean, honestly, you could do a lot worse, but you could also do better too. Actually, no, you could do a lot better. I mean, I do have other microphones. I much prefer the sound of this over this, but for $60 or so, it's actually not bad. And I do prefer the sound of it in XLR mode over the USB mode, obviously, at least when I use the Mode 2 M2. But this is how the audio sounds. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. All right, so here is the Miktek T89. This is a pretty under-the-cuff microphone. This is how it sounds without a windscreen. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. I like this microphone with the windscreen on, so I'm going to go and do that right now. All right, so we're back on the Miktek T89. This is how it sounds. I mean, it sounds like it's definitely less warm or less dark compared to the, I would say, the Shure SM58. Okay, it's a little bit warmer than the SM57. It's definitely warmer than the Lewitt MTP 550 DM. It's kind of like you know what I mean. It's just right in the middle. I feel like it's in a good sweet spot, and it's less like grainy or less synthetic sounding compared to like some of the Fifine microphones. I just like the way it sounds. It's a unique microphone, and it might be on its way out. But yeah, this is the Miktek T89. Alrighty, so here's the Blue Encore 200 by Blue. This microphone is, I think, discontinued. I don't know if this is dynamic or if it's a condenser or it was like a passive. It was like a weird microphone. There's like some weird mechanics with it. But anyway, this is how the microphone sounds. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. I remember with this microphone, the windscreen makes a massive difference. So I'm going to go and do that right now. All right, so now we're back on the Blue Encore. And I don't know if you, one thing I've noticed about this microphone, like usually, maybe it's just in my head or whatever, but I just feel like compared to other dynamic microphones where you put the windscreen on, this is a lot more, it's a much more profound change when you add the windscreen. Because watch, I'm going to take this off, and I don't know if you guys can hear that. That's a huge difference in how they sound. It's a huge difference, you know what I mean? So that's what I got to say. All right, well, that's the Blue Encore 200. All right, so here's audio from the Neumann KMS 105, and this is how the audio sounds. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3. Now, for this particular microphone, I don't want to use a windscreen on it because I've never seen anybody use a windscreen on it, and it just doesn't feel right to do it. I noticed that singers do use this microphone, and yeah, this is how it sounds. I think this is actually Podcastage's favorite microphone as well, at least amongst handheld condensers. But yeah, this is how it sounds. Microphone check, testing 1, 2, 3.